I fell for my gym instructor who's in the closet. Stop drooling over the instructor. I've told you he is straight, my friend Veronica reprimanded me. Can you blame me though? Just look at him, I hissed, so only she could hear me. He is easily the hottest guy in the gym. He's friends with Max, my boyfriend, so no, I don't see it. She made a disgusted face. I also want a boyfriend, I sighed. He is not the way to get that, she said as she pointed toward the gym instructor. Pretty sure he has a girlfriend. You are so right. I'm finally out of the closet. It's my time to get out there. I shouldn't crush over straight guys. It doesn't matter how hot they are, I mumbled the last part. Agreed. She sat back down on the bench with her dumbbells. Now, let's continue with the workout. I want this to be over. I nodded before stealing another glance at the gorgeous man. This time we made eye contact though. He smiled at me and I immediately looked away. I slapped my forehead because of my terrible social skills. You okay? Veronica asked. Yeah, it's nothing. Few days later. Oh, Ben! I heard Veronica call me as soon as I walked into the gym. I walked over to her quickly, noticing she was with a small group. Max, her boyfriend, was there with her, and also the beautiful guy I had been crushing on. Oh, hey, Ben, Max greeted me. It's been a while. I nodded as I tried to steal a glance from a special someone. I looked away when I noticed he was already watching me. Have you met Eric, by the way? He's been working here for a couple of weeks, right? Max hung his arm around him and Eric pretended to be annoyed but didn't push him away. No, we haven't met, I answered, and even though it was the truth, I felt like I was lying. I extended my hand to him and felt Veronica looking at me. Nice to meet you. I'm Ben. He is Veronica's best friend, Max clarified. He took my hand and shook it without breaking eye contact. I felt like I was being examined under his gaze. Maybe it was my imagination playing games on me, but it felt like a meaningful look. Nice to meet you, he said back after what felt like the longest second. Anyways, I gotta keep working, so see you later, guys. I stared at his back as he walked away and unconsciously sighed. Stop that, Veronica slapped me lightly on the chest. I didn't do anything, I defended myself. Oh, don't lie, I saw you, Veronica pointed an accusatory finger at me. You saw what? Max asked, clueless. I didn't even bother to answer. There was no point because it was ridiculous. I was innocent. He is looking at things that he shouldn't be looking at, Veronica answered in code, but Max seemed completely lost. In that second, my eyes betrayed me again, and they started looking in the distance for Eric. Then I heard Max gasp and noticed him peering towards the direction I was looking at. He looked at me again and then at Eric, pointing at both of us. You have the hots for my best friend, Max said louder than I appreciated. He is straight, though. Shh, I quickly covered his mouth. Of course I know that. I'm just admiring the view. And nothing else? Max arched his eyebrow, looking suddenly serious. When I didn't answer, he sighed. Look, man, I just don't want you to get your hopes up. I'm not, I swear, I promised. I wasn't sure if I was being completely truthful. A few days later. I leaned against the wall just outside the gym and I checked my phone when it vibrated. So, are you coming to the party tomorrow? That's what Veronica texted me. Max and her were a lot more extroverted and they both loved partying way more than I did. Plus, I wasn't familiar with the usual crowd they normally invited. You know it's not my scene, I texted back. I sighed as I looked up. My breath got caught in my throat when I made eye contact with Eric. He was standing just a few feet away from me, wearing a big hoodie and a gym bag was hanging from his shoulder. His glance made me nervous and I lowered my eyes, already cursing at myself for acting so weird and not even offering him a smile. But apparently that didn't matter because he still walked up to me and stood in front of me. Ben, right? Eric asked. I blinked a couple of times, surprised. He was even talking to me, and when finally I was able to process, I nodded. Yeah, that's me. So Ben, he crossed his arms and also leaned against the wall. What are you doing here? Waiting on someone? Just my Uber, I shrugged. Eric nodded, and then there was a moment of silence. My car is in the shop right now, I said, just to fill the silence. I crashed my car 2 weeks ago. Honestly, I think I shouldn't drive anymore because that is the third one in like 5 months since I got it. So, I'm definitely not the best, but hey, I try. Immediately after I stopped talking, I noticed I was rambling because I was nervous. I cringed at myself, but when Eric let out a genuine laugh, I felt my shoulders dropping in relief. You are funny, he complimented me, and a proud smile appeared on my face. I always heard loud laughs in the gym, and I know it's because of you before even looking. I gulped to calm my heart, because even if he didn't say it, there was something between those lines that implied that he noticed me at some level. Sorry, Veronica has a loud laugh. You too, he said with a cheeky smile. I'll be more careful. I don't want to annoy the gym bros and the Zumba ladies. Eric laughed again as he shook his head. You shouldn't stop. The laughs are great. I like it. I like yours too. It's pretty, I blurted out without even thinking. He arched a brow and I felt myself blush severely. Saying a straight guy has a pretty laugh is just outlandish and unnecessary. I mean, yeah, it's not a bad laugh, you know? I tried to say anything just to fix it, but I felt like I was making it worse. It's good, and it's surprising because I had this impression of you that you were a serious guy, but not at all. You are also fun, a fun guy with a good laugh. I scratched my neck when I finished my rambling, unsure of what I had just said. Thanks, I guess, he said, but still laughed like I was so amusing. At that moment, my phone vibrated again, and I thanked the universe for my Uber arriving at the exact moment to save me. I grabbed my things and I said a rushed goodbye before walking away. Hey, he called me from the distance. You know, Max is throwing a party tomorrow. I turned around confused. Yeah? I'll be there, he announced. You? I don't know, I answered, even though I knew that I didn't want to go. Pity, I would have loved to see you there. I got inside of my Uber and texted Veronica that I'd see her tomorrow at the party. The next day. I'm so glad you are here, Veronica ran to hug me as soon as I walked into their house. The place was packed with people I didn't even know. I started to regret my decision. I looked around until I found Eric. When we made eye contact, I waved my hand at him and he gave me a quick nod before looking both sides and then turning around. That was strange. I thought he wanted me here. Come, I want to brag that I convinced you to Max. She pulled me through the amount of people towards her boyfriend. Wow, you are here. You never want to go to parties. What made you change your mind? Max asked between sips of beer. I discreetly looked at Eric from the distance, who again looked away as a girl who I'd never seen before leaned on his shoulder. I was in the mood, I answered as I shrugged. Max gave me a high five before offering me a drink. I denied the beer and said I wasn't planning on drinking. Max and Veronica kept chatting and I tried to keep up with them, but my eyes were fixated on Eric and that girl. She was constantly giggling and touching him. Hey, who is that girl with Eric? I finally asked. Veronica gave me a knowing look instead of answering. She's his girlfriend or something like that, Max answered. Something like that? I arched one eyebrow. Yeah, it's a long story. They dated when we were in middle school. They broke up in high school and now they are not together, but everyone pretty much thinks they are ending up together, you know? I sighed in disappointment. Yeah, I get it. I told you so. Straight, Veronica whispered. I rolled my eyes. I reached to grab the first drink I found and downed it. I needed to forget about him. 2 hours later. At some point during the party between drinks and shots, I started dancing with a guy, trying to forget about a certain someone. The guy was cute, or maybe that's what I thought because of the alcohol. I wasn't sure yet. You're a great dancer, the guy whispered in my ear. I swung my hips and held onto his shoulders. When I looked up, I noticed someone watching me. Eric was standing next to the same girl from before, but now she looked angry. But he wasn't even reacting to her complaining. He was only glaring at me. I got confused by his harsh expression and his staring, and then it clicked in my brain. Was he not only straight, but also homophobic? Gosh, I had such terrible taste in men. 2 hours later, I walked outside for a moment to get a breather. I felt a little too drunk and my mind kept spiraling over Eric. Hey, Eric said as soon as he walked out. Perfect, just what I needed. He lit up a cigarette. When he caught me staring, he offered me one. No thanks, I don't smoke. I just didn't know you did, I explained. Eric shrugged as he took a puff. Sometimes, only when I'm stressed. So you are stressed? I wanted to ask, but it came out as a statement. Yeah, maybe, he coughed out, and for 1 second there was silence. He looked at me and then to the ground. So, you and that guy. I closed my eyes. I didn't like where this was going. Me and that guy? No, it's just, I didn't know you were like that. Like what? Gay? I snapped at him. Dude, honestly, screw you. I thought you were cool. I can't believe you have an issue with it. Wait, Eric blinked a couple of times, processing. Are you calling me homophobic? Yeah, I am, because that's what you are. Then you don't know me at all. His eyes got harsher again as he gritted his teeth. Oh, don't pretend, I pointed an accusatory finger at him. I saw how you were glaring at me. You clearly had an issue with me. Not with you, he screamed back. Then with who, huh? I walked up to him to face him as I stabbed my finger on his chest. I was jealous, he confessed. What? That's the only thing I could mumble before he grabbed my face and kissed my lips. My breath stopped in my throat. I was more than shocked. I was jealous of how lucky the guy you were dancing with was, he whispered on my lips, and this time it was me who kissed him. Eventually, we grabbed an Uber to his apartment. That night, I confirmed he was definitely not straight. The next day, Eric had lent me some clothes because he begged me to stay for a little longer. Of course, I gladly accepted. We both were lounging on the bed, my back was leaning against the headboard, and Eric was lying down, resting his head on my lap. No one knows, he whispered. What do you mean? About me. About this part of me, he explained as he looked up at me. Oh, I understand. It's okay, I combed his hair back. I didn't know I was gay for the longest time, but I always knew I was different, you know? I nodded, relating to his experience. And by the time I realized what I was, everyone already had this expectation of me. Everyone just assumed I was straight, so it was easy to play along. Yeah, I wouldn't say you are the stereotypical gay, but what can I say? I have great gaydar. Eric rolled his eyes, but he still laughed. That's why you have a girlfriend? To play along? I don't have a girlfriend. She used to be, though, he explained. We dated when I was confused and young, and then she broke up with me, which was a big relief, honestly. We stayed friends, and lately she's been trying to get back with me. It's been hard to find a way to reject her without telling her the truth, but tonight I made things clear with her, that I was interested in someone else. Was she pissed? Very, but I didn't care, honestly. I was too busy with you taking all my attention. I smiled at that. He stayed quiet for a moment and then bit his lip, looking worried. And there's also my parents. Are they, I tried to look for the correct words, not cool with gay people? It's just my dad, but my mom always follows his lead. The comments he makes and the prejudice he has, it's just nasty sometimes. Eric closed his eyes, scrunching his face. He looks like he was fighting the memories. I leaned toward him and kissed his forehead. I'm so sorry. You don't deserve that. He sat up and he cradled my cheek with his hand. He caressed it gently and he smiled at me. I really like you, ever since I first saw you. I gave him a peck on the lips. Me too. Listen, he grabbed my hand. I would like to continue seeing you, but I understand if you didn't want to, given my circumstances. I inhaled deeply. I was freshly out, so I understood the complexity of coming out better than anyone. I would be lying if I said I wasn't looking forward to having my first out and proud relationship, but I liked Eric so much, so it wasn't even a tough choice. I want to be with you no matter the circumstances, I answered, and noticed Eric's eyes watering. I promise. The next week. Ready for our first date? Eric asked as soon as I got into his car. I nodded more than excited before I pecked him on the lips. He drove to a faraway beach, and Eric surprised me pulling a bunch of things for a beautiful picnic. You like pesto, right? You mentioned it the other day, he said. I smiled. Yeah, it's my favorite. We ate and walked around the desolate beach holding hands. I've never been in this area, and I thought it was breathtaking. Eric pulled up his phone and started taking pictures of the sunset. He noticed me just watching him, and a huge smile appeared on his face. Come here. I pulled him by the arm and kissed him. I sneakily took his phone and took a selfie of us at that moment. Oh, we are so cute. Look, I exclaimed as I showed the picture to him. He smiled and nodded. So cute. He stayed silent for a moment, and his smile died down slowly as he looked far into the distance. Maybe I should delete that, Eric mumbled, looking down. Why? You look good, I nudged him, trying to tease him. Well, just in case someone sees it. His voice got even lower. Oh, right, I agreed, looking down. I bit my lip as I looked down at the picture, and then I gave him the phone. We should head back. It's getting late. I walked away towards the car without looking if Eric was following me. 3 weeks later. As weeks went by, Eric and I continued to see each other. We would normally hang out at his apartment or mine. It was nice. It felt like we were living in a bubble where only we both mattered. I was enjoying my time with him so much that I forgot about other responsibilities and hobbies. But it was time to get back into my old routine. Hey Ben, thank God I finally get to see you. Where have you been, stranger? Veronica ran to hug me when she saw me walking into the gym. Well, you know, been busy. I couldn't help the big stupid grin that appeared on my face. Veronica looked at me suspiciously and then smiled. Busy with a guy? I quickly shook my head and looked away. It is a guy. Oh my, that's so exciting. Veronica jumped and hugged me as she squealed. Max walked up to us after finishing a rep, with Eric next to him. Why so excited? Big news? No, not at all. I quickly denied it. I desperately wanted to change the subject, especially with Eric right there. She's exaggerating. Not exaggerating, of course. I'm going to be excited for your first boyfriend, Veronica said. Oh boy, she said it. It's not like that, I stuttered as I tried to explain. I glanced at Eric, but he was looking down, clenching his fist. Who is it? Veronica asked. Eric, in that moment, excused himself to use the bathroom. For some reason, I felt extremely guilty, even when I hadn't done anything. Stop, I told you, I'm not seeing anyone, I whispered and quickly changed the topic. 30 minutes later. You've been avoiding me, I told Eric as I grabbed his wrist. He snatched it away a little bit too harshly and then started looking both ways anxiously. That felt awful. Sorry, he apologized when he noticed my expression. I didn't mean to do that. It's just not here, okay? I nodded. Can we talk later tonight, though? I asked. Yeah, of course we can. At yours? He took a second and looked down at the floor. He was nervously biting the side of his fingers. Actually, could we hang out at yours from now on? I scrunched my eyebrows as I looked at him. Why? I get less anxious, you know? What if someone sees you walking into my apartment? He tried to explain it gently, but that didn't mean it hurt less. Is it okay? I nodded, even though it didn't feel okay at all. I looked away so I wouldn't cry. Can we maybe do it another day? I remembered I'm busy later. Sure. Tomorrow? I'll tell you, I quickly said before grabbing my things and walking out of the gym. A week later. What are you doing here? I asked when I opened the door to my apartment. You haven't been answering my calls, Eric said. I didn't say anything because I didn't know what to say. Did I do something? I sighed. I have just been overwhelmed and I needed some alone time. It's been difficult. A group of guys walked behind him. He glanced at them and then he looked down, scratching his neck. Could we talk about this inside? He interrupted me. That made me furious. So people don't see you with me, I snapped at him. I'm done with this bullshit. What bullshit? This isn't bullshit. It is. The whole relationship is, I said as I pointed at him and then at me. This hiding, the lying, I can't do this anymore. You are forcing me back into the closet. I was honest with you from the beginning and you told me we could do this. He looked at me hurt, eyes watering. He pointed a shaky finger at me. You promised. Well, we both had expectations and ended up just disappointed, I said bitterly. How did he dare to try and turn this on me? Dude, he mumbled, closing his eyes tightly as he exhaled a shaky breath. And don't worry, I won't talk to you anymore at the gym, so you are not ashamed anymore to be seen with me. That's not... I didn't even let him finish before closing the door on his face and I let myself cry. 2 weeks later. As days went by, I did my best to not think about Eric or my broken heart. It was so much easier thanks to Veronica and Max. Even though I didn't say anything to them, they still let me stick to them almost every day. Guys, guess what I saw today, Veronica said. She was sitting in the front seat while Max was driving. Eric is dating someone. My heart sank. He is? Yeah, his girl posted it today, she exclaimed. Girl? Oh no, what the hell was Eric doing? Oh right, it was a weird situation with those two, Max explained. But I'm glad they are finally officially together. After all, they had history together. And they look so cute together too, Veronica said. She tried to show me the picture, but I couldn't handle that, so I looked away. Oh, Ben, you used to have a thing for him, right? I'm sorry. It was nothing, it's okay, I lied. I wasn't fine with this at all. I was more than angry. The next day. That very next day, I decided to wait outside the gym for Eric to finish his shift. And all this time, I was purposely avoiding him, but this time, I needed to face him. Hey, congrats, I said as soon as he walked out. He turned around spooked. What? I heard about you dating someone. She must be a lucky lady, I answered bitter and sarcastic. But I assumed she wouldn't be so happy about dating someone who can't like her back. I don't want to do this, he rolled his eyes and walked away towards his car. Oh, but we are doing this, I stood in front of him. He sighed defeated. What do you want? I want to know why are you doing this? Like, stay in the closet if that's what you want, but don't do that. You don't know what you're talking about, he snapped at me. Oh, I don't? I huffed. You played with my feelings and now you are doing the same thing to some poor girl. You need to stop. You are only hurting others like that. I'm not trying to hurt her, he growled at me, his eyes and whole face getting red. I'm trying to fix me. I stayed silent. I was baffled. I had never seen him so upset. I don't want to be like this, okay? His voice was strained and shaky. So tell me, what the hell am I supposed to do, huh? Because the only choices I see here are either I do what people expect of me or I lose people I love. Why do I have to make that decision? It's just so unfair. He was hyperventilating at this point. Eric, I struggled to find the words. My hand reached for his arm, trying to comfort him. Don't. His arm flinched away as if my touch burned. Don't touch me. Eric, I can understand how you are feeling, believe me, and I can promise you whenever you are ready to tell your truth, you are not going to be alone. Can you stop? He covered his face with a hand as he tried to even his breathing. You said you wouldn't talk to me anymore. Please, just do that. Eric, don't be like that, I whispered, hurt. Oh, right, I forgot. You have a hard time sticking to your word. He glared at me before getting into his car and driving away. 2 months later. After that, I decided to move to another gym. It was just hard to see him and think about how unfortunate everything was. I understood Eric's fear and I wanted to help him, but it was something only he could battle when he was ready. My phone rang with Veronica's name on the screen. Dude, something happened, Veronica said as soon as I answered. Are you okay? I asked, worried. Yeah, it's not about me, she started and paused for a second. Have you not seen that thing about Eric that went viral? I blinked confused. No, you know I don't use social media as much. What thing? Oh, Ben, she sighed. He was outed. What? I practically screamed as I felt something drop in my stomach. Yeah, apparently his ex-girlfriend shared some screenshots of conversations he had with other guys, and someone posted them, and it went viral. No. My hand went to my hair. It's awful. They even posted a picture of Eric kissing a guy on the beach. The guy's face was blurred, though. Oh no, not our picture. I assumed he had deleted it then, like he said. And do you know how he is doing? I asked carefully. Not well, she said plainly. This went viral a few days ago, and his family found out. They were not fine with it, and since his dad was paying for his apartment. Well, long story short, he is staying with us right now. Max is trying his best to support him. Immediately after hearing that, I hung up on her and grabbed my keys. 20 minutes later, I knocked on the door gently, and when I didn't hear an answer, I decided to let myself in. Hey, it's me, Ben. I walked towards the bed. Max let me in. Eric was curled up under the covers, face covered with his arm. He flinched when he heard me, but didn't do anything else. I hope that it is okay that I'm here, I whispered. I was fidgeting with my fingers, feeling nervous. Eric inhaled deeply and rubbed his face with his hands harshly. He sat up and looked at me. He was red and swollen, like he'd been crying for a long time. Yeah, it's fine, he finally spoke. His voice was sore and tired. I heard about what happened. Yeah, you and everyone else, he said in a sarcastic tone. You didn't deserve that, I clarified. I think I did, though. You said it yourself, I only hurt people. I don't even blame her for all of this, you know? He looked at me with hazy eyes and his eyebrows pinched. I had it coming. I sat in the bed in front of him and both my hands cradled his cheeks. You didn't. It doesn't matter what happened before. You are the only one who gets to decide how, when, and who you want to tell. You and no one else. What happened to you is not right. His expression crumbled in that moment and tears started to stream down his face. I hugged him tightly as he sobbed in my arms. You didn't deserve that, I repeated multiple times while I rubbed his back. We spent a long time tied together like that until he calmed down. Eric pulled away from me, but his hands were still resting on my shoulders. Thanks for being here despite everything, he mumbled. I'm sorry for how things went down and how I handled everything, but for the record, my feelings for you were honest and I never wanted to play with you. Yeah, I know, I nodded and smiled at him. My hand combed back his messy bangs. I said things just because I was upset and I regret that. It was just hard, you know, to have your partner be ashamed of you. I wasn't ashamed of you. You also said that before. His hand went up to my chin. Let me be clear. I was ashamed, but not of you. It was me and only me. But it's something I'm working on. Don't worry. My therapist is helping me a lot. Oh, I didn't know you were doing therapy. I'm happy for you, I said genuinely. Yeah, I've been doing a lot better. I also was diagnosed with anxiety disorder, which made a lot of sense, honestly, he said nonchalantly, and I looked at him worried. I'm getting treated. It's fine. I'm glad, truly. My hand rested on his, and I squeezed it. You know, I sought help after our last conversation. He bit his lip and looked down. It was eye-opening to say the least. I stopped drinking, I broke up with my girlfriend, and I really tried to move forward with my life. I laughed awkwardly remembering that moment. I think I said things I shouldn't, but at least it helped. Yeah, thanks for not giving up on me. I told you you wouldn't be alone. I hugged him tightly. 3 weeks later. That day healed something in our hearts. Eric and I continued to talk, but mostly as friends, though. I spent most of my time hanging out at Veronica and Max's. We always tried not to leave Eric alone and did our best to cheer him up. The four of us became a small family. I waved at Eric when I saw him standing by the roadside. I walked up to him and gave him a quick hug. Hey, Veronica and Max are not here yet? I asked. Eric shook his head. They got stuck in traffic, but they're on their way, though. I nodded. I have big news, by the way. Something happened today. His huge smile was a big indication that it was good news. My dad called me today. Oh, what did he say? I asked, already feeling protective of him. Nothing much, but this is good. It's progress. His big smile was so contagious, I couldn't help myself to smile back. In fact, I'm in such a good mood, I want to celebrate it. There's this fancy restaurant I want to try. We should go. He started looking for pictures of that place, but I couldn't help to take my chance. We should go as in you and me? He stopped and looked at me, his mouth opened and closed. Right. Maybe we should invite Veronica and Max. Maybe we shouldn't, I decided to be straightforward. Maybe we should just be the two of us. He stayed quiet for a second. I don't think that's a good idea. I blushed all the way to my neck. I was so embarrassed. Oh, sorry. I assumed you still had feelings for me. Forget I said anything. I do. I have feelings for you, he confessed, and his cheeks also went red. It's just, I think you deserve the whole world, and I don't know if I'm enough because I grabbed his hands tightly to shut him up. Don't ever talk badly of yourself. It pisses me off, okay? His surprised expression was almost funny. I like you a lot, and I want to be with you because you are amazing. That's enough for me. This time, he was the one to shut me up, but this time with a kiss. I pulled back a little surprised. Are you sure we are in public? I said, more out of habit rather than because I was scared of other people seeing us. Never been more sure in my life, he whispered in my lips as he kissed me again. I wanted to cry out of happiness, so I did. Conclusion. We told Max and Veronica about our relationship. They didn't look surprised at all, but they still congratulated us and they were happy we were together. Now that we were both out, Eric used every excuse he had to flaunt me in front of everyone. He loved showing how proud of our love we were. Sometime later at a party, Eric coincidentally met his ex-girlfriend again and she profusely apologized. He forgave her, of course. He had healed so many wounds because he worked hard on himself and I was proud. Also, the relationship with his dad is still a work in progress, but every day it gets better. Eric inspires me every day and that's why I'm planning to propose very soon. The end. How did you come out? Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become part of our Rainbow Force, and stay wholesome.